We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity with Young Men. And I'm glad I'm not a young man. I mean, like when I was in my 20s, Tim just had a happy birthday. Happy birthday again, buddy.
Thanks.
Yeah. He's 20, just turned 23. And I'm like, I remember when I was 23. Man, it was hard. But I wonder if it's harder today to be 23 and a young man than ever. But anyways, what was your question for today for Voices of Integrity with Young Men, Tim?
How to know what's best for yourself.
So this is Tim brings back memories to when Tim was 5 years old and 9 and 12 years old. And Tim just comes up with the coolest, most complicated questions that I don't know the answer to. You'd think being 60 years old, you'd think having 7 kids and 8 grandkids, 2 more grandkids on the way. You'd think being 60 years old, you'd think being an international speaker and author. You'd think writing my 18th book, Clean Windows, Learning to See Things We Can't See. You'd think with all of those things. But I don't know the answer to that, Tim. But I do have a lot of thoughts on that. One of the rules that I have is that if I can't go ahead and answer a question in 3 minutes or less, I don't with a diagram, with a model, and I don't have true deep understanding of that question. And there's no way in the world I can answer this question in 3 minutes or less. But here's something from the mind models, Tim, that I don't know, may help, may not. Before I share, did you want to share what's driving that question or your thoughts behind it?
Um, I just think that um I think that I put myself in situations that hurt me. I think that's what's I deserve, I guess. Um,
To be heard?
I think so.
So there's this book I'm reading now. I actually know both authors. One of them is really good. One of them pretty well. Getting to know her more. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's called the Value Exchange. I don't know why you can't see it, but anyways, it's called the Value Exchange, and wish you could see it. Well, because it's like, and it has barbed wire here. Like it's really cool. It has barbed wire, and then the barbed wire is broken, and then like the little barbs turn into birds. Like it's like what? Like when I saw that, it's the coolest thing. I'm like, so earlier today, I was, just like an hour ago, I was working on the feelings, white paper, and so you can see when the values exchange. This is the thing here. So it's like barbed wire things in our life that go ahead and hold us back. And it's really challenging me. I mean, I'm like going through this thing. I'm just like, I don't get it. I hate not getting stuff. I mean, I think normally I get stuff pretty quick, but this one, like I'm tearing into it and I'm looking into it and I'm trying to break it down into a model. And I don't know, this is brand new, so I haven't had the author, so I don't want to misrepresent them. But here it's like a situation, and from a situation we have an emotion, and from an emotion we have a feeling, and from a feeling we have beliefs. And so the belief, like, here's this. So Maybe there are no good or bad situations in life, just how we respond to those situations. What do you think about that question? The situations lead to emotion. Hmm, maybe there are no good or bad emotions which come from situations. Emotions maybe are just that, emotions. What do you think about that question? Emotions, I think they're saying, and again, I'm not I don't want to misrepresent, so I'm new to this thing. I don't know. But emotions, I think they're saying, lead to feelings, and so this is my stuff. Maybe there are no good or bad feelings which come from emotions, which come from situations. What do you think about that? And then maybe maybe there's not good or bad situations. Maybe they're just easy and hard situations. And then that leads to beliefs. Now, beliefs, on the other hand, it would seem to be clear that there are positive and negative beliefs. What if positive beliefs help us to be who we were created to be, and negative beliefs lead us not to healing, growing, becoming our best selves, who we were created to be? Maybe there's no positive and negative situations, maybe no positive, negative emotions, maybe no positive, negative feelings, but beliefs. So, like when you have a belief, and again, it'd be cool to have Londa, one of the authors on this podcast with you and I. But it's like you have a belief. It seemed like you have a belief that you deserve to be hurt or something.
Yeah.
And that would seem like that might not work out so well for you. Like if you have a belief, I deserve to be hurt, we're probably going to put ourselves into situations that we're going to be hurt. And questions or thoughts?
I don't really have any thoughts or questions.
See, I wonder if it's complicated. Often in life, we complicate things that are really simple, but then other times we simplify things that are really complicated. Like the first thing that came to me is that why does Tim get into situations, you know, where he's being hurt? And you know what the first thing I thought, first thing that jumped into my mind,
What's that?
because you have a big heart. Like you have this huge heart. Like I don't know, you're 9 years old and you come on, to a podcast with Tom Coons and you say, Mr. Coons, how do I make my four older sisters happy? Like that's a kid, a 9-year-old kid that's just got this crazy heart, this crazy cool heart. You're 5 or 6 years old and you're like, Dad, I want to go over to Thailand. Okay, why? And you're like, because they're hurting girls over there. Okay, what do you mean? I don't know. You said something about sex trafficking or something. I'm like, do you even know what that is? And you're like, no, I just know it's bad. And I have four sisters, older sisters, and I know it's bad and I want to help stop it. Like, that's just like you have this coolest heart. And so, it's almost like somebody's, drowning in a river and you just like you might not be the best swimmer and you just still jump out. And so you know, it's like your heart is just it's unbelievable. And so I wonder if people like if they're drowning and you jump in to save them, you know, you and them may go under. Like you might not be strong enough to help them and you both may go down. But it's complicated. that make sense or not?
Yeah.
It's like if we're hurt and we don't heal, if we get cut and there's an infection and we don't heal, it's like there's an infection and it can look like it's healing over. It looks like it's good, but it's not. And it seems like there's one hurt on top of another hurt on top of another hurt. And it's almost like Bobby Lowe, really smart kid, and young guy, and I don't know. He said something about. He says, "Do you know why people cut? Do cutting?" And I'm like, I don't. I mean, I think it's because their emotional pain is greater than the physical, so they have the physical pain. They'd have the physical pain that goes ahead, and so it's a distraction. He's like, well, it's a little more than that. I'm like, okay, what is it? He said, well, what happens is the brain, when there's a cut, the brain releases like chemicals in the brain. So it's like a heroin, cocaine high where they do it. So it's literally, they do it to get the high. This is not healthy. And I think people cut themselves, not just physically, but emotionally. And I think when you get addictions like you and I went through, you and I went through, I don't know how many, 20, 30 podcasts on addictions. I think when you get addictions, like in addictions or entitlement, it's like I've been hurt, so I'm entitled to feel this. And it's easy to take a drink or a pill or a shot or something, whatever, or view something on the computer, pornography. I mean, it's
I
easy to
think
go,
one of the worst addictions is helping people.
right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like we didn't cover that one, right? Like, like,
I think I put myself in situations to try to help people, and I just end up hurting myself. And then
right. I agree. I mean, that goes back to the heart. So your heart is, your heart is, it's like a firefighter. They're trained. They have equipment to go in and get somebody in a fire. So they're trained in how to handle that. They're trained in how to handle that. And I think people who are wounded attract other people who are wounded. And then often they hurt each other. They don't mean to hurt each other. They're not setting out to hurt each other. They just do. Questions or thoughts?
I just think that I I try to find peace through others, try to help people because I don't really like myself. And so when I help others, they they praise me,
Yeah.
and it feels good because it feels like I don't have to view myself in a good way because I'm not the one viewing myself that way. And so when people view me in a different way, it just feels good.
Yeah, there was a young woman on another podcast, and I didn't know her backstory. Um, but I found it out, at the coffee, some part of it at the coffee connection. And I said, man, this young lady, wow, is she amazing? I don't know if I've ever seen anybody like met with somebody. I'm just like, there's a sense. I don't know what it is. Is it just the sense? And the guy looked at me and he said, do you know her story? I said, I don't. and it's like, and he said, she's got a heart of gold. So what does that mean? It's like she got married to a guy who, got was addicted to painkillers. I don't know if it was it was uh, athletic accident or something. I don't know how, but somehow he got addicted to painkillers, and then he got into cocaine and heroin. And it's, her husband's been, she's been through hell and back with her husband. And I don't know, I've talked to her husband. He's been on a couple times when I've been on with her, but it seems like he's clean, and it seems like they're doing good and working on it. And so um, there's something about young men. They want to be significant. And you're the youngest of seven. I think that makes it harder for you. Um, you're the youngest of three boys, and I think that makes it harder. Although your oldest brother and your other older brother, both of them, it seems to me, both of them just, oh my gracious, they want validation. And my heart goes out to them. I was, doing a kayak with one of them a couple years ago, and he's like, Dad, wish I was like you. And I'm like, what does that mean? He says, it's like, I need validation from everybody. It's like, you don't. You just don't. You don't need validation. Like, and I don't know if some of that, Tim, comes from being a, international speaker and author professional, where I can get up in front of people and I can say words and tears can come, and they're legit too. I mean, they're not fake, they're real. But I can get up and I can move an entire audience, and they can think I'm a great guy, but I'm really not. Or somebody can think I'm a terrible guy, and I'm not. Like, what people think of me it's so, and I think it's hard. I think social media has made it hard. The internet's made it hard. It's like, it's so like helping people or looking good, you know? And so my heart goes out to young girls, especially on the internet. And it's like, it's like they're being fed in their brain, it's fed in their brain that they've got to look a certain way and be a certain way. And they have meaning. And it's just constant. And it's just, there's some people who, sleep with the TV on, and it's like, whoa. So even when they're sleeping, their subconscious is being fed, whatever's on the TV. It's like a constant barrage, of stimuli to the brain. Great question, Tim. It's just being here, in decision making, making good decisions, making good decisions in life. And so a lot of our decision making the core of it comes from our belief system. So if you believe you don't deserve good, you're probably not going to get good. You're going to self-sabotage yourself. When your life is getting better, you're going to go ahead and put yourself into a situation where it's going to be painful. And you've learned to live in the pain. And you actually enjoy the pain because you've lived in it so long.
It's what's comfortable.
It's what's comfortable. And so our belief, it's like, that's where I'll get the value exchange and get it sent to you. Oh, Mom, do that. And so it's pretty wild. I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff where it's like, huh, didn't connect that dot with that piece, didn't connect this piece with this piece. And so a lot of, our beliefs come from our situation and our choices, like what's good for me. And so the analytic personality, what's good for them is,
Ooh, to be the bigger person when someone discredits what you've been through.
well, I think a lot of times, you've had the blessing of, having an older brother commit suicide when he was 5 feet away from you. So, it's pretty messy, pretty hard, really hard. You got all that. And so you've experienced that where people are like, oh my gracious, I know how that feels. Like my dog died. It's like, so people like they dismiss, they try to take on your trauma or take over. I don't know, they take over. It's weird. It's just weird. And this is even really what you'd consider. Like, I've got an older brother who's a CPA, devout Christian. On the surface, it looks like he's all good. And maybe he is all good. I don't know. But I mean, after my son died, his responses to me were just strange. Like, it's just really. And my other brother, Dan, like his were strange. So I think we're all wounded. I think we're all wounded. I think we all have hurts. And I think when you've been deeply hurt, one of two things is going to happen. And you're either going to go ahead and have this amazing heart that's going to come from this to help other people to heal. But I think a lot of people don't want to heal. They think they do, but they don't. So a drowning victim.
How do you know someone doesn't want to heal, but they say they do?
Right. Well, I think because I've been asking myself that question for decades, and I think I'm coming closer to the answer. Are they willing to go ahead and do even simple things? Like, are they willing to read a book? Like your mom, she was sexually abused from at least the age of 12, maybe younger, maybe even into an infant, maybe from her grandfather. We don't know that. But at least from 12, we know that, to up to 19. And she's 60 now. So she's still fighting through it. She's getting help. She's trying to get help. She's reading books. She's digging in. I mean, does she have an attitude of, well, nothing, it's never worked before, it's not going to work now? No, she doesn't. She's in the game. She's fighting through it. She's working through it. So I think if people aren't willing to try, it's almost like a drowning victim. Like, it doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are, you go out there, you could drown with them. you know? And so it's hard. A good decision, what's good. And so what's weird on this perspective on time based on personalities is the feelings, like our feelings, I think are, man, we got to be careful. And everybody, I don't know, everybody, a lot of people are saying, trust your feelings, follow your heart. It's like, I wouldn't recommend that. I'd be really careful about that. It's not that feelings don't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that our feelings, I think, reveal a lot. Nobody's teaching this that I'm aware of. Our feelings reveal about us. It doesn't reveal about other people. We often use our feelings to get what we want from other people, and we give other people feeling, they give us feeling, but eventually that's just going to blow up. Like, it just is. And so I think that we can feel good and be bad. We can feel bad and be good. We can feel like we're helping, but we're really hurting. We can feel like we're hurting, but we're helping. Like, our feelings are not, it's not that we should ignore them. It's not we should put them in a box and put them on the shelf. It's not that at all. It's that to be, I think, cynical and skeptical of our own feelings and and to be cautious not to jump into a situation that where we could hurt somebody else and they could hurt us. Like we're not strong enough yet to be able to help them. I mean, you look at, a lot of the addictions, you look at, a lot of times the addictions, it's, whatever addiction it is, people hang out. Why? To normalize their behavior. I'm normal in doing this and this and this. I mean, child sexual abusers, they hang out with other child sexual abusers. Why? Because it's normal. I mean, they want to normalize their behavior. And so they hang around people. And so this is why often, like when you probably don't, I don't know. Do you remember Lakota Indian Reservation in South Dakota and camping there?
I don't remember camping there.
Yeah, maybe not. You were really young. And so Lakota Indian chief, and so it's the poorest county in all of the United States. Massive amount of addiction, alcoholism, absentee fathers, massive amount of drugs. I mean, if your daughter, wife, girlfriend, if you, mom, if a woman gets arrested on the reservation, you have legitimate fear that she's going to be raped by the police. I mean, it is just absolutely a mess there. In the Lakota Indian Reservation, the chief, we were talking, and he said Lakota Indians are like crabs in a bucket. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, when one of us try to crawl out, all the other crabs grab us and pull us in, and that's how addictions are. I was talking to, your brother, your older brother, yesterday, and he went ahead and we were talking about addictions and stuff, and he said, oh, so like it's like the addiction becomes our identity. So if we're drinking alcohol, alcohol becomes our identity. If it's drugs become our identity. If it's pornography or sex becomes our identity. It becomes, and it takes over us. And he's like, oh, you mean like Christians, Dad? And I'm like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to disagree. Like it can be anything, like, anything and everything. And so it's a phenomenal topic, Tim. And I mean, it bears, I have a feeling we're going to have another conversation. I think that if you can go ahead and like, it's almost like you have to test. Like, it's almost like you have to test people. Like, do you really want help? I do. Are they willing to do something rather than just talk about it? Like, if somebody won't watch this podcast, if you're trying to help somebody and they're not willing to watch this podcast, it's 30 minutes, for crying out loud. You're willing to do whatever, spend hours, hundreds of hours, so much time and energy into them. But if they're not willing to watch this podcast, they're probably not willing to get help at this point. Like they haven't hit the bottom yet. Okay. If they're not willing to get a book and go through it, or get some help, or, do some work, some assignments, if they're not willing to take, a few minutes every day to work on themselves, if they're not willing to do that, you can't help them. And you likely are going to not only hurt them, people around them, but hurt yourself. If you're listening to the rebroadcast of this is a great topic. Share with other people, right? And these are great questions. And if you have any questions on anything we covered, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.